Ladies and gentlemen, Sublimely Elegant here as always, and welcome to Doom Builder 2 Tutorials. In this first episode, we're going to be going through some fairly basic stuff just to get you up to snuff. Now, the level we're going to be creating is going to be persistent through every tutorial, so feel free to save it so that you can follow along. For the game configuration, we're going to be using ZDoom, Doom, and Doom format, as opposed to Doom or Doom 2. ZDoom, Doom, and Doom format gives you the most customizability and ease of use for your levels, so it is particularly nice to use, and I have mine pointed at only my Doom 2 WOD. I also have Doom 1 and Final Doom and stuff like that, but I'm going to be building levels in Doom 2 exclusively. Go ahead and OK, and that will open the grid, and this is where you're going to be doing all of your mapping. Now, the first thing I do before I start anything is go down to the bottom here where it says 32 MP and click this little up arrow, and you want to change that to 16 MP. That will add another set of lines to the grid, which gives you a lot more control. Alright, now if you right click, it will create a vertice, and a vertice is a point at which line defs meet. And a line def is very much just the lines between vertices. A sector is what is made when you have a set of line defs that all close into an area. A sector is literally just a room. If you go ahead and enter visual mode, which is the cube here, you will see that in real time you're able to fly around using the controls once you get a hang of those. You can see the sector as well as change floor height, ceiling height, as well as sector brightness if you hold control and scroll while in a sector aimed at nothing will do nothing, of course. Go ahead and exit visual mode there. Visual mode is about where you'll be spending maybe 50% of the time building the level. The other 50% will be in this grid view. If you go over to line defs mode, that gives you control over entire lines. Right clicking will open the edit line def properties window where you can edit its properties, such as it being impassable, which is a basic wall, block monster, double-sided, secret, which means crossing over the line will make a secret event happen to where it pops up, and that will count towards the secrets percentage at the end of the level. And in the side defs tab here you have textures. On the bottom here you have identification and action in the properties window as well. The action is purely that. It's what that line is made to do, such as DR, door open wait close, also monsters, which is a very basic door open stay, stairs raised by 8, exit level, light start blinking, door open wait close, door yellow open wait close, scroll texture left, floor raised by 24 that changes the texture, floor lower to lowest floor that changes the texture, door open stay, everything is in here. The easiest way to go about making that, because this is a fairly daunting list to have to go through and it lacks a certain customizability, go over to the right side here and click this, and this will give you the edit action for that line. On the left side you'll have predefined actions to which you can open these tabs, which is literally just this list, but much easier to go through. And then in the generalized actions is where you get more of your customized properties for editing a line def. Select a category such as floor, door, lift, crusher, and it will give you options that you can then further edit to create the desired effect that you like. And we'll be going through these a bit more in the door tutorial, which will be next. Go ahead and cancel all that. Identification down here is a tag. Now what the tags are is associates line defs or sectors or vertices with other line defs, sectors, or vertices so that they can indirectly affect each other, which is how you create switches and stuff like that. If you go ahead and mouse over a line def and then right click and drag, it will let you take that line def and stretch it, and the other line defs connected to it via the vertices will be stretched along with it, which will allow you to reposition and resize your sectors. We're going to go ahead and stretch this to 384, and then this one up to 448 should be fine. We're also going to change the sector brightness back up to 208, which I believe is default. Could be a little higher or a little lower, but 208 is not a bad medium level to have for just general visibility. If you go all the way up to 255, that's more something you'd use for outside, and then of course it goes all the way down to 0, which is just you can't see shit. Which you're going to be using in Doom, because it's Doom, so it's good to know. With a single sector, you've got that one room. You can then create another sector, and this will create another room that can be connected to via doors or open walkways, which will be, you guessed it, another sector. So we're going to go ahead and make another sector here. Now what you see is I've actually created 2 line defs on a single wall of this sector, and that has many possibilities for use, and I can show you why here. So if you go back to vertices mode, you'll actually have control over individual vertices, which will stretch the line defs connected to it to compensate for wherever you wish to place it. If you drag a line def over top of another vertice and then release, it will delete that vertice in effect, pretty much. But if you don't, it leaves 2 separate line defs. You'll notice that every line def, which I will refer to as lines more often than not in future videos, but for now we're going to have continuity. Every line def has a little nudge, a little line sticking off of it, and it's facing in a direction. If I press F while I'm on that, it will actually flip the direction that that is facing, and that literally does what I just said. It flips the wall, so the player is able to operate actions given to a line def, such as doors or switches, only from the side that that nodule is facing. So if you have a switch that's facing out from where the player can reach it, that switch is unusable to the player, so it's very important that you make sure that all of those are facing in. For walls it doesn't matter quite so much because you can texture the back side of a line. That is perfectly easy to do and operatable. It does not break the game in any way, but you typically want to have them all facing in where possible. You can, in more advanced mapping, get to points where it can be quite difficult to always have that scenario, and you just kind of have to do a case-by-case basis on what works for that level and that particular predicament. Now, having 2 separate line defs on a wall can pose you a very neat thing. So here in visual mode again, we can see that I can highlight each line def separately, and this gives us a very strong ability. If I right click in visual mode, it will open the edit line defs panel, which gives us access to the exact same panel you saw in the grid mode, and you can go to side defs, and the texture that is shown is the one that you can see. All the other ones are typically blank. If there's no texture at all, it will display exclamation marks like that, and if you go back to the side defs, the shown exclamation marks will always have an exclamation mark as well, so that when you have this situation, you know which texture you need to place in order to fix the issue. If you have no texture there and you start the game up in the engine, you get some pretty weird visual artifacting, and it is very impossible to play at that point. So you want to be very careful and make sure everything visible is textured properly. Left clicking will open the Browse Textures window. On the left side you'll have tons of panels which will segregate all of these things in a very neat manner so that you can easily find what you're looking for in a quick manner. If we go over to something like base, we'll have a plethora of floor and wall textures. All of the flats are floors. Floors are also floors. They kind of shift back and forth. Flats are more or less what all of them are called. But we're going to go ahead and find a new wall texture like IC Wall 5. Click that and then OK, and you'll see that the texture is changed here. Click OK and it will apply it here. Now, this is awesome because there's two separate line depths here. You can individually texture each line, every roof, all the floors, so that gives you extreme control over what's textured, and you're going to need to know that when you're designing very nice levels. If you click on a texture in visual mode, it will highlight it in red, and will allow you to Control C to copy the texture, and then simply pointing at another line depth like that and pressing in the mouse wheel, which is the middle mouse button, will paste the texture. You can also paste to the floor or roof, but it looks strange and I wouldn't recommend it. Control Z to undo, Control Y to redo. But those ones are fairly standard across all Windows applications, so should be known and easy to use. If you make a sector within another sector, like this, it gives you another range of possibilities. These line depths are all bright white, flat white in fact, and that signifies that they are impassable. They are pretty much walls, quite literally walls actually. And these ones are a faded gray, not so much a wall, and that is very clear once you've entered visual mode yet again. And visual mode is the closest you'll get to how it will look in game, besides actually running the level in game, which we will get to. With a sector inside a sector, you can individually raise that sector to create things like steps up. So if you have one sector here, and then another here, and then another here, and they all individually get higher and higher slowly over time, you will create stairs. Fairly simple things, but knowing it can go a long way. You can also just simply retexture that for whatever reason you like. So if we go over to liquids and put FWater1, and then maybe lower it down a little bit, we can suddenly have a pool of water. But we've exposed a lot of textures, so you would like to want to fill those back in so as to not confuse the game engine. Probably use something from base. I know that base has a steps texture somewhere in here. Ah, here they are. Steps 1, 2 through 6, step ladder top, stuff like that. We can go ahead and use step 4, it's basic metallic, and then go ahead and copy and paste that texture all around, and now we've got a little recessed pool, which looks quite nice. You can also change the lighting of the sector individually to the rest of it, so we can make this dark and that very bright. That will affect the roof as well, whether you are looking at the roof or not. It just changes the sector in general. Some of the limitations of the Doom engine you're going to have to learn over time through practice, and they will limit the kinds of things you can do, but you can be pretty creative. I've seen people do some pretty crazy shit in this engine, so I wouldn't worry too much about its limitations, but they are good to know. I'm going to set these both back to 208, and we can go ahead and leave that little pool there. That pretty much covers everything that you have going on as far as sectoring goes, as well as some basic texturing. We're going to go into texturing a little bit more in depth and a little slower so that you guys can follow along. You get some more advanced techniques going on in future tutorials. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.